everybody, and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here, and today we're going to talk about dropping kill rates amongst killer and the potential causation for that. So this was brought to my attention by Otsdarva, who had highlighted this post on Twitter, and then he went into a theory with a number of points on why this could be occurring. But it all stems from this tweet here from Kassir that says, according to Nightlight, there are now multiple killers under 50% kill rate, less than a 2K on average, and 12 killers on Nightlight are below 50% right now. The highest kill rate, Freddy, has also dropped multiple percentages from 65% to now 60% since FNAF has released. Yikes. So Nightlight is a snapshot. It's like a keyhole look at what is happening in the game. It is, in the grand scheme of things, a smaller sample size compared to the entire player base, but it's basically the only thing we have. And it comes from people who have their profiles open on Steam, and Nightlight is able to look at the data of kill rates and things like that. It's not an official website, but it is a website that exists and keeps track of a small sample of statistics, if you consider 16,000 games a small sample. So Kassir even put out this graph here to show the percentages of where killers are right now. 60%, Freddy is the only one at 60%. And then between 59 and 55, we have Lich, Dredge, Unknown, Kaneki, the Twins, Dracula, Sadako, and then here we have, you can see here, 54, 53, 54%, 50 to 52%, 49 and 50%, and then this group here is 47 to 48% here, according to Kassir's graph, right? So this is Nightlight. They may have, Kassir may have dialed in their data a little more specific. I just took this month, last 28 days, and then the previous 28 days here in May. So this is May, this is June. So in June, we're looking at around 50% and lower is from 28th place all the way down to 40th place. So that's what they're talking about, is 12 killers affected here that are basically 50% or less this month, compared to last month we had 2. Because Ghostface is over 50%, 51%. We just had Trickster and Shape, and that's it. And here's the other thing they're talking about, that Freddy, top of the pops here, is 64% in the month of May, down to 60% in the month of June. By the way, the Lich is overperforming given all of the lowered kill rates here. He was 54% last month, but those buffs have got him up to near 62% most lethal killer right now. Yeah, he needed the buffs, huh? So kill rates are dropping, except for the Lich. Okay, so here's Ott's thread about the whole thing. So we're going to look at his points one by one and talk about them here. What has caused this apparently generalized drop in kill rates? Here's some of my theories. Has the killer role itself gotten weaker, or a thread? All right, point number 1. Springtrap itself has dominated the statistics, being 3 times more popular than the second picked killer, the Ghoul, and just about as popular as the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th killers combined. So, I mean, Springtrap's the new toy in the toy box. Everybody wants to play as him, so that makes sense. He is getting pretty much exactly the same kills as the average killer and isn't really pushing statistics in any particular direction. And even if he did, this alone would not explain why other characters have also dropped. So this is here. This is animatronics pick rate. You can see it's 21% compared to like 0.65% for Skull Merchant. So yeah, head and shoulders above everyone else. What did he say? 3rd, 4th, and 5th place combined? Yeah. Okay, as popular as 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th combined. So, meaning that if you add up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th most pick killers, it still doesn't equal 21%. So, most people are playing the animatronic. If they were playing their mains, would kill rates be higher because they're not playing their mains right now? I don't know. Number 2. Killer queues have been slow compared to Survivor since the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter. probably leading to Nightlight users on the survivor side submitting more games than the killer users. I assume this might skew the data, but it turns out that Nightlight only uses data from survivor games anyway, so this should not have affected anything. Okay, number 3. Since the killer kill rates have gone down across the board, it stands to reason. Well, there's a couple of outliers, but I mean, on the average, we can check the average. Since killer kill rates have gone down across the board, it stands to reason that it has come from some global change that affects everyone. Most likely the new survivor spawn logic, everyone spawning together. This change should help killers in theory, but many times results in the first generator being done faster and thus reducing the effectiveness of perks like Pain Res, Grim Embrace, Dead Man Switch, all of which are still very popular. I imagine that perks like Lethal and Corrupt will be used even more in the future. I'm really surprised that people aren't using Lethal, because if you don't know, they have changed it that all the survivors, unless an offering is played, spawn together and on the same floor. So Lethal becomes so much more valuable to find the survivors and know where they are, because they're all clustered together and you can go and disrupt. So if you aren't using that, then yeah, I can see how manually using your eyeballs to go look around the map for survivors, you could lose the first gen quickly if everybody's together and jumps on a gen together. Okay, here's the overall pick rates. Again, if I were to dial this in a little bit more specifically, like say 2 weeks before Springtrap came out and 2 weeks after Springtrap came out, maybe the disparity would be more vast. But right now we have May is average kill rate is 54.42%. And then in June overall is 52.46. So down 2% on average overall. But again, this sample size here includes more than just when Springtrap is released. So maybe I need to dial this in a little more harshly to be more accurate. Point number 4. However, the theory above doesn't really explain everything. If survivors spawn together, then why did Blight drop so dramatically? Shouldn't Blight be one of the best at disrupting grouped up survivors? Well, if you're not using Lethal and you don't know where they are, they still might have time to do a gen, right? Why did the Hag stay almost the same when she's the complete opposite? Maybe it's an odd case where the Hag actually benefits from losing a gen sooner, but is being disrupted less. So killers like Hag and Trapper, if they can just figure out what they're going to defend and just set up their traps in those areas, and they don't care about the gens that are getting done early across map because they have no intention of guarding them. They're going to just lock down their stronghold, right? So maybe that's why Hag and maybe even Trapper aren't affected as much. So 9% drop by Blight is significant. 5. Did the new map queue affect the stats? If so, it could also help to explain why the kill rates are down across the board. We've never had a queue like this where both sides played on the same map repeatedly. If this map was survivor-sided, this could explain a lot. Right now, it seems Nightlight does not have data on the new map's escape rate, so we'll have to wait and see. So he's talking about here, perhaps this is all... the data is due to so many people playing on the Fazbear's map, and all killers were struggling on that map. So kill rates are down across the board because so many people were picking the Fazbear queue specifically, and maybe it's a strong map, and that just put everybody's numbers down. Not sure. Perhaps the scariest theories of them all: the community kill rates have always been inflated by people killing themselves, and the Go Next prevention has actually worked. If this is the main force behind the stats drop, it'd be an absolutely devastating testament to just how were before this change. We have a winner here. People who aren't like, the killer breathed on me early in the game, I'm going next, not being able to take themselves out of the game easily anymore, have been forced to stay in the game and actually try and contribute instead of leaving instantly and leaving a 3v1 where the killer can just mop up the rest of the survivors easily. Having 4 people actually have to stay in the game for a length of time seems like it maybe has had some impact. Point 7. The theory above would explain why Blight has dropped a lot and Hag hasn't. Blight gets it down quickly, and a frustrated survivor that would normally go next now has to stay and actually play. Oh my word, how awful. Hag doesn't often get downs early, so the rate of going next players remains the same for her. All right, I think this is probably the biggest one here, is that people aren't getting hung out to dry and they're staying with a full 4 longer than they would. People are also afraid to run up to the killer and allow the killer to kill them because of the go next prevention. You can't jump off hook, and you can't die too quick because you might get penalized for it, right? So I think this is what's working. A couple of other points that I want to make here that Otts didn't touch on. One came from my friend Mia, one came from a YouTube comment. First, Mia said, well, of course people are going to do objectives more because they're afraid they're going to get crows. Yeah, that's true. That's right. Because they have this system now that if you don't work on objectives, the entity is going to send crows your way, which are going to reveal your position. So if people are afraid that they're going to get crows, they're going to be more inclined to do objectives. More people doing objectives get done more quickly, right? Now they have increased the amount of time it takes before you start to gather the crows. But yeah, I think that has an impact as well that's gone unspoken here, because even like if you have people who are wanting to be flashlight heroes, the people that I call spies. So if you have 2 survivors in a chase, you have the survivor who's actually being chased and the survivor who is spying on the chase so that they can be in position to get the flashy flashlight save. Well, that person's going to gather crows because they're not in chase, right? So they don't want to get crows. So that person is being discouraged from being the spy and going for flashlight saves. So maybe those kind of people are on generators more now, not chasing the chase, and more people on generators gets the objective done more quickly and denies the killer opportunities, right? So I think that is an aspect that hasn't been considered here. As I said, they have doubled the amount of time it takes to gather a crow, so I don't know how that will be impacted. Will people be more inclined to spy on chase and go for flashlight saves now? Don't know. But talking about the gathering of the crows system now, we were always told that distortion had to be nerfed because it encouraged a hiding play style in which people would be sneaky rats and not touch gens and hide. Well, now that that system is gone, can we get our old distortion back? Question? Fair question, huh? Because if the people try to use the old distortion the way that they did and they aren't touching objectives, well, then they're going to be revealed. Because I don't know. I don't think it's an aura, right? It's like a frenzy blip that shows you the position of somebody who's got crows, right? Yeah, because you would get crows, and those are the explosions, right? So that's not, distortion isn't going to protect you from that. So we could go back to old distortion, could we not? And for the people who used it to just not have their aura read and were actively doing objectives and weren't trying to hide from the killer necessarily, but they were just trying to hide their aura from the killer. Can we have distortion back now? Anyway, I thought this was an interesting conversation. There are some killers who are just, marginally affected by this, and it's only like 1 percentage point difference from then until now. 1 or 2, I think, there. Satoko's 55% here. She's 58. But I mean, overall, it looks like it's 2% down. Like Dark Lord is basically the same on both, unchanged here. 56%, 56%, pretty well unchanged. Maybe, a few tenths of a percentage point. Other people got hit much harder here, like Trapper's 56%, and I think he's one that fell down below 50% here. Where's he at? There, 50%, and he was 56, so he's somebody who got hit a bit harder there. And there's that example of the Blight that Otts points out, almost 56% here. And then where's he at now? Where's Blight? Oh, maybe, well, yeah, 51, 56, basically. Yeah. So some killers hit harder than others. Across the board, it looks like it's 2% here. Except Lich. Lich is keeping up the numbers for everybody. Good on you, Vecchi. Good on you, Vecchi, helping keep the numbers up for everybody. 62%. Wild. Up from 54%. Yep. All right. I thought that was an interesting discussion. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And now, I mean, if this data is true, which by the way, Mandy has said that this is a small snapshot and it doesn't tell the whole story compared to the enormous amounts of data that they have. But even if it were true, let's say it is true across the board, this going next prevention, those are the things that needed to happen before you can balance the game further, right? Because you couldn't make it so that people could still go next and you made killers stronger, right? Because then the solo queue people are just floundering, you know. They need help. So forcing people to stay in the game was the right move. You changed my mind. And only then can you start to address other issues that might be in the game, as far as bulking up the gen defense perks, those kinds of things. But this had to happen first, right? All right, that's all I have for you today. As always, thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate the time that you spend here with me on my channel. But join the discussion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps the channel a ton. And it's free. Let's get a discussion going in the comments. Let me know what you think about the statistics and where we go from here. And don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.